Hello and welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. This is Vicky, and this week's episode, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, the blue zones, and how does that relate to fasting? I'm going to tell you, and we'll cover it all. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast, where each week I will be discussing all things fasting and how it can become the most valuable tool in your personal toolkit so that you can live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. I'm your host, Vicky Sharon, and thank you for joining me. So, blue zones, right? Have you heard about the blue zones? Do you know what the blue zones are? In a general bulleted list, the blue zones are essentially places in the world where the people live the longest, are able to maintain the highest quality of life, longevity, wellness, health, sustainability, up to the age of 100 and sometimes beyond. The centenarians that live in these areas are focused and concentrated areas throughout the world. And if you are familiar with my story and my journey, I actually visited one of the blue zones this summer in Ikaria, Greece for 2 weeks, studying health, longevity, wellness, through this lifestyle, and how that connects to fasting is truly incredible and very remarkable in many different components. So we know what a blue zone is now. Of all the different blue zones that are out there, I went to Ikaria, Greece, and understanding and experience with seeing what the lifestyle is. Obviously, fasting is practiced not to an obsessive or really not to a point where it is a focus with dedicated weight loss. Different parts of the world, different religions in the world, as we know, have practices of implementation of fasting. But as I've talked in previous episodes, the blue zones specifically have parts of why these people are living so long, very common denominators in all the different areas throughout the world. One of the big things that I've talked about and I saw firsthand in my experience of these common denominators that make it just a healthy place to live, to grow old, to exist. They have this understanding of moving naturally and how it should be just commonsensical for them to go about their day in a physically active way, whether it's walking or biking to work, whether it's living close by to where they work, but constantly moving, keeping up with regular household chores, making conscious, deliberate choices with the habits and practices that they have in their life every single day, whether it's tending to a garden, doing chores around the house. There's a sense of purpose that ties into that, where it gives them meaning, it gives them value, and you have such a deep respect for your contribution, for your actions in these habits while you are moving naturally. And with moving naturally, with that intended purpose, we're able to prioritize things in our life that we want to give our attention and time to. And all these things matter, as we've discussed in previous episode, where picking and choosing the relationships that you have, the habits that you practice, the things that you do are things that are part of your life, but realizing you can simplify, you can pare down things in your life that don't serve you, that are making your life stressful, overcomplicated, and specifically in relation to food. And this sense of being okay with eating to the capacity of about like an 80% rule, right? So they call it like an 80% rule, where you're eating to about 80% of satiety by consuming only about 80% of your fullness, and being aware, keeping yourself in check, not just the health benefits from it, but confidence gets restored. you are okay with reaching that level of satiety where you don't feel bloated, you don't feel tired, you don't feel stuffed, you don't feel like you have to tap out for the day. With the habit of eating, understanding that these blue zones all around the world have a very, very heavy plant slant, meaning that their meals are predominantly plants. Now, these places around the world are predominantly plant-based. However, there are moments and times of integration of dairy products, of animal products, of meats, seafood, and all that. But these folks predominantly are consuming a very, very significant plant slant. And the consumption of dairy, the consumption of meat, seafood, animal byproducts in general does happen, but it's not nearly as frequent or as prominent as it is in, for example, our culture, American culture, and different parts of the world that have adopted American culture. Another thing that plays a big role that I don't personally do, but it is very common in all the blue zones, is consumption of a wine and the quality of the wine and how that works. Obviously, if you're choosing a wine that is clear or white, not nearly as beneficial, and the studies are out there of the benefits of the dark red wines that don't need to be refrigerated. Specifically to the island of Icaria where I visited, there are local wines in Icaria that are touted to have incredible healing benefits. Now, they're not consumed in excess like Western culture tends to have, just obsessive and, almost unlimited just wine, or alcohol in general. It's mindfully consumed, usually with meals or in company of others. And in the company of others, these communities that we live in, where we are, growing where you're planted, having that purpose, as I mentioned before, with understanding your value to the community that which you belong matters. And it plays a huge role in not just your emotional and mental health, but all that ties into your physical health as well. And how you see yourself, how others see you, how others know, respect, love, and appreciate you, and vice versa, how you do the same to them, allows you to really prioritize, as they do, putting loved ones and their family and extended families first. And having these folks around us of similar practices, of similar mindsets. There are additional pieces in the puzzle that can make your way of life, your community's way of life, can make or break, right? If you're surrounded by negativity and harmful suggestions, stressors, trauma, triggers around you all the time, you're not going to be able to grow and flourish. If you are in an environment or put yourself in an environment, or even have a chance to go visit the Blue Zone anywhere in the world, one of the Blue Zones in the world, highly recommend, by the way, you will see there is an incredible sense of community, a sense of belonging that they all have with themselves, their value that they have with themselves and each other, for that community mindset. That rising tide raises all ships, right? So each person on the island that lives there knows that their contribution to the island, to their society, to their village means something. It means a lot, whether it's the people that work, keeping bees, or it's the restaurateur that is a very popular place, or, the folks that we chatted to at the hotel that we were staying at, and how much they appreciate and love connecting with folks and tourists that come, and they have such pride with sharing who they are about the island and its deep history with, the Icarians on the island, and being able to overcome the invading Turks and pirates, and their history, their tenacity to withstand and come together, islanders all coming together to be able to withstand. And that's beautiful. So thinking about all that and relating to what you can have takeaways from understanding how folks live thrive, grow, prosper in these blue zones all around the world, drastically, significantly improves an overall quality of life. You have that sense of purpose. You have really, with that sense of purpose, it can truly improve your lifespan. It gives you meaning, and that community being plugged in and involved with, improving your longevity, improving your health span, improving your longevity, causing a longer health span, longer lifespan, improving your reaction to those stressors, improving your connection and relationship to your community, to what you're passionate about, what you love to do, who you connect with, what you put in your body. All these little pieces, all these pieces can add up significantly. It's an incredible experience to be able to have been in a blue zone and to really be around these people on the island. Listening to them talk is one of the most eye-opening things. And I say that because one of the first things that we were told when we stepped into the airport was that our guide told us she wanted us to talk less and to listen more. And I have chills because I remember her saying that. And she was, I befriended her before we went back over to the States. An amazing, knowledgeable, very caring, compassionate person, Miss Rania. Miss Rania, if you're listening to this, side note, I'm going to give you a really big hug. Rania was extremely knowledgeable, passionate about just the way of life on the island and how everybody plays a significant role and nobody looks down on anybody. These people on the island treat each other with such equality, with such respect, from office workers, lawyers, business professionals to janitorial staff. They treat each other with incredible respect, kindness, understanding, that they're all equal. They all play incredible, meaningful roles on the island for everybody's benefit. And nobody should be looking down, condescending, nobody should be looking or treating anybody else disrespectfully. That is a very commonly known and understood all across the island. And that community mindset that you find on the island is something that I think the world entirely can absorb and adopt, because that does play a role into societal, media-driven thoughts, beliefs, and expectations with being bought, sold, food that we eat, feelings of attachment to food, feeling to need to pacify stressors with food, confidence within ourselves. That all adds up. And not to say the place is perfect by any means, but these incredible lessons that I learned, these are things that I have implemented since coming back home. And my wish and hope is that others see, know, understand. If you're able to experience, I truly wish everybody at some point could go to a blue zone that they are able to and just go and experience, whether for a week, 2 weeks. If you're able to go there for longer, that's awesome. Every person I've connected with from the island, I have so much respect for. I have so much admiration and deep, deep respect for the wisdom that has been given to me from my time over there. And this wisdom, I will keep with me for the rest of my life. It's a beautiful souvenir that I'm incredibly happy to have. If you're curious to know a little bit more about blue zones and how to implement blue zones into your life, this is not an ad or a plug. I'm just going to highly recommend. Dan Buettner is the author to the Blue Zones book, the original Blue Zones book, 9 Lessons for Living Longer, as well as other books and cookbooks and recipes and stuff. So highly recommend for you to check that out if you're interested. The website is bluezones.com. And it really gives a great synopsis of how these cultures are living, are thriving, And it's very easy to see and discern through reading these testaments and examples of Blue Zone life that he talks about how that relates to fasting. Super easy to understand and connect the dots. Highly recommend that. And if you have more questions or would like me to further discuss more topics about the Blue Zone specifically, I'd love to hear about it. My website, thefastingfocuslifestyle.com, has contact information where you can reach out to me, as well as my booking calendar if you are in need of supportive coaching on your fasting journey. As I always say, I truly believe in every single one of you doing this. If you get excited over learning about Blue Zones as I did, I know you can do this. I know you can absolutely do this. This implementation of this lifestyle can be done. You can learn and see and read things from what makes the Blue Zones work. You can implement them into your life. You can have the life that you deserve and work for. You can have and be your after. I know you can do it. I believe in you. I believe in every single one of you, even if you don't. I'm giving you all a really big, warm hug, and I hope you have a great rest of the day wherever you are. Until next time. The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2023. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.
So, you've got an idea for a business, the store of your dreams. There's just one thing to figure out: everything. That's why Shopify's all-in-one commerce platform makes it easy to sell online, in person, and everywhere else. Sell on social media, source products with an app to get that first sale feeling. It's the only solution that gives you everything you need to sell everywhere you want. So when you're ready to bring your idea to life, power it up with Shopify.
Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/listen.